Hello, writers. During the semester, we will write weekly reflections where we will engage in responding to guiding questions about the readings, assignments, and topics discussed during the week. The purpose of the weekly reflections is to serve as a journal to share our thoughts on the ideas and projects we work on during the course, as well as whatever is on our mind at the time we write. We will be having a weekly reflection for the first 12 weeks of the course for a total of 12 reflections we could have participated in. The reflections can be completed in multiple forms. What I mean is that you don't have to feel limited to writing them out. You can record yourself answering the questions, record audio, create a poster, or create a collage. That's just to name a few examples of the forms that students have completed in the past. Your audience is your future self. Through these reflections, you will be able to share with your future self how you once felt and what you thought about the topics discussed in class. Each week on Blackboard, you will be able to locate the questions your professor asked you to reflect on based on what we worked on during the week or on topics that we will engage with during the coming weeks. While your professor does not have a minimum word length requirement for the reflections, your professor appreciates you adding as much detail as possible. Each week, the reflection will be added to the weekly reflections page in your portfolio website. You will be able to add the reflection by writing it out there or adding links to PDFs, videos, or audio. Please title each weekly reflection with the corresponding week. Example, Series 1.1 Reflection. When you are ready to submit your reflection to Blackboard, all you need to submit is a link to your portfolio website. Do not copy and paste your link to the comment area. You have the entire semester to continue to make edits and revisions to your weekly reflections if you choose. Your professor does not require changes to the weekly reflections, but you have the option. For materials, you need your portfolio website, internet and electronic device, your weekly reflection questions, which can be found on Blackboard in each weekly folder, and student samples of weak and strong reflections. English 1301 Series 2.2 Reflection Prompt. This week we have been discussing reading strategies, multimodality, feedback, and submitted our first draft of our language ecology map for feedback. Let's take some time to reflect on the following questions. The following are examples of reflections that your professor does not want to see. After having watched the video during reading strategies and applied one to this week's reading, tell me what reading strategy you selected and your thoughts on it. Did it aid you as you read? Were you satisfied? Why or why not? Do you think you will use the strategy again in the future? I used the same strategy from last week. Yes, it has really helped me. I will use it in the future readings. No, I don't think I will use another strategy. What idea stood out to you from the Irvin article? Include a quote from the readings as support and practice using proper APA in-text citation. The reading of the week was very interesting. I hadn't thought about what academic writing is until I read Irvin. I always thought our writing was the same. As a new college student, you may have a lot of anxiety and questions about the writing you do in college. Free space. I don't have anything to get off my chest. The following are examples of reflections that your professor really wants to see. After having watched the video during reading strategies and applied one to this week's reading, tell me what reading strategy you selected and your thoughts on it. Did it aid you as you read? Were you satisfied? Why or why not? Do you think you will use the strategy again in the future? This week I've decided to once again use the strategy of visualization after every section. Last week I was having some trouble with coming up with what to draw since it was my first time using the strategy. However, this week was a bit easier. I felt a lot more comfortable drawing stick figures, but they really didn't help me understand what I was reading. Honestly, I felt like I was wasting my time, so I only applied it to half the Irvin reading. Now that I've used it for 2 weeks, I am ready to try something else. I don't know yet which strategy though. What idea stood out to you from the Irvin article? Include a quote from the reading as support and practice using proper APA in-text citation. As I read Irvin's article, the quote, "Nobody writes perfect first drafts. Polished writing takes a lot of revision," put me at some ease about college writing. I usually strive for perfect first drafts, and that really makes the writing process not be enjoyable at all. Knowing that Professor Basildua doesn't hold bad first drafts against us makes me feel more comfortable about my writing. I am going to be taking advantage of first drafts to try out new things. Free space. This week my dog's birthday, so we got him a birthday cake obviously. We took out the frosting before giving it to him because otherwise it would be too much sugar. He was really excited. I attached a photo so you can see. Oh, I forgot to mention his name is Buddy and he turned 7 years old. Each weekly reflection is worth 4 points. This is a rubric your professor will be using to be grading each weekly reflection. The portfolio link submission. Weekly reflections should be added to the student's portfolio website and be submitted as a link to the portfolio. That will be 1 point. Responses to questions. All questions in the reflections submitted should be answered. When prompted, incorporate citations from the course readings and explain their connection and significance to the topics discussed during the week with attempts at proper in-text citation. That is 1 point. Reflective. Write responses to questions that give plenty of detail on the student's thoughts and feelings toward the topics, assignments, and readings of the week. That is 1 point. The due date. Submit reflection by original due date for 1 point, for a total of 4 points. This is a portfolio weekly reflection rubric. Minimum length. Have completed at least 9 of the 12 weekly reflections assigned throughout the semester for 10 points. Responses to questions. All questions in the reflection submitted should be answered for 10 points. And reflective. You should demonstrate that careful thought, effort, and time was put into the reflection on and responding to the questions for 10 points. This would be a total of 30 points. Weekly reflections are due each Sunday by 11:59 p.m. The final portfolio is due at the end of the semester. That is all for now. Until next time. Bye.